Hi, everyone. So I'm back at the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden. Actually, I keep calling it garden, but it's technically the Santa Barbara Botanic Gardens. And you can see that here. Last time, if you recall, I was over at the Redwood Grove, which is over there, sort of around the side here. And here I'm in front of a meadow with the mountain in the background. Very much looks like something you might find in the High Sierras or something, but no, we're still here in Santa Barbara. And those beautiful flowers, if you can see behind me, those orange flowers are California poppy, which are the state flower for California, and wonderfully blooming this time of year, even though we haven't had as much rain as we would like. In any event, this week I want to talk about Kim Stanley Robinson's The Ministry for the Future for a second time. In fact, this will be just the second of 4 times that we talk about it. Sorry, there are flies out here. And it's warranted because there's just so much in this particular novel. And as last time, I invite you to talk about anything that really caught your attention. A few things that caught mine that you might want to talk about. You don't have to. And that is, one, I mentioned in passing last time, but I'll really invite you to talk about it if you like. The fact that this is an unusual genre of novel. And what I mean by that is often novels focus just on, action among a number of people, or, maybe focus a good bit on the setting. But this is different. There are whole chapters just sort of interspersed, one about, what you read about, photons coming to Earth. And of course, this is a way of talking about solar power. There are all sorts of technical things here in a scientific sense about, what we could do in Antarctica as a way of geoengineering to sort of deal with the climate crisis. These are very scientific, very technical, as you know now. Also very technical on an entirely different register, talking about economics, about what we could do as far as or what we should do as far as thinking about the future in our economics today, things that we can do such as a carbon tax, which you may have heard of a good bit, or what Kim Stanley Robinson introduces and spends a good bit of time on, which is a carbon coin. So here's my question. I would first talk about any of those things if you like, but what do you make of a novel that does this? I mentioned before, and I'll say it again, this is kind of like a course, like a university course taught by a professor. It's a PhD in English, taught by a professor. But it's not. It's takes the form of a novel. So maybe another way of putting it is, would you recommend this to someone? Would you, now that you should have a physical copy of it when you're done with it, would you let someone borrow it, even if you have an e-copy of it, like on Kindle, you can let someone borrow it there too, if you didn't know. But, would you suggest it to someone? Because in a way, in terms of communication and, communicating the issue here, it's a wonderful concept, and you tell me if it's successful or not in doing just that. In other words, in finding a way of communicating all this material to someone who may not be that interested in wanting to take like a university course or open up, quite a few textbooks on things like, degrowth economics or something. So that's a thought. Controversial things here in this section we really see. The children of Kali, so Kali, which is the Hindu goddess of death or change. This is a terrorist group. This is a terrorist group that initiates change, that really brings about change through eco-terrorism. What do you make of that? And I'm certainly not saying that Kim Stanley Robinson advocates it, but hey, this week, week number 2, Kim Stanley Robinson will be coming to our class. If you want to ask him about eco-terrorism, what his take is on it, you should absolutely feel free to do so. But what do you make of that? The notion that, eco-terrorists would take down airliners, and lots of them, killing people in the process. I'm just curious on what you make of that. And if you want to continue to talk about the trajectory of the characters, Frank and Mary, you're absolutely free to do that, or talk about the ministry for the future and actually what it's, setting out to do, what it's succeeding to do, or whatever. There's an awful lot in this part of the novel. So yeah, and again, feel free to talk about the novel in terms of big terms, in terms of what it's doing, what it's trying to do, whether it succeeds at that, and you might find, by the way, you might take just the opposite position, that in terms of a novel, like a fun read, something you want to continue to read through, all of this densely packed material, which is, sort of like lectures on economics and all, is just maybe not very useful for you, or if you maybe useful, but on the other hand, not very enjoyable or fun to have on board. So, okay, that's it. I won't go for too long. I want to hear what you thought about the second set of readings that you did for Kim Stanley Robinson. And remember, since Kim Stanley Robinson is going to be here, if you have questions, if it were raised for the reading raised those for you, feel free to talk about them in your comment, but also feel free to put them in the Q&A on Gaucho Space so we can actually ask Kim Stanley Robinson. Okay, thanks a lot and take care.